Going paperless sounds like a great idea, and trust me, Evernote can really help you in that journey. But it's easy to have it become your digital junk drawer. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. I want to show you how to use notebooks the right way. Whether you're managing projects, sharing with your team, or just trying to find that one receipt from last month, these tips will help you make Evernote work smarter for you. Before we get started, I want to suggest you check out my 2 online courses that will help you build out Evernote so it becomes key to building a great productivity system. Evernote for Beginners helps you with your setup, shows you the basic features. My second course, Evernote Beyond the Basics, goes deeper. It not only explains the nitty-gritty of all of the features, but shows you how to use them effectively. Wherever you are on your journey, I got you covered. Find out more at daveedwardsmedia.com. Just click on courses. You know, it's so easy to create notebooks in Evernote that sometimes you can create too many. So, what notebooks do you need? How will you use the stuff that you put into Evernote? I've got some organizational ideas, things that have worked for me, and I'll show you how they might work for you. But first, let's take a look at notebooks. So if I have a client, I would have a notebook around one of my clients. Or if I had a hobby, I might have a notebook related to that particular hobby. Now within the notebook of client 1, I'll have a number of notes. To create a new notebook, you come up to the new notebook label, and now you can create any notebook that you want. And as it says, your notebook can be private or you can share your notebook. So let's create a new notebook, which we have done. It's now called Test Notebook. Now within that notebook, right now, there are no notes. So I could create a note here, and I could call that Note 1. And then, of course, you add your details here, just as we described under Notes. As you add more notes, they will appear in this column under the name of the notebook. So just as the name sort of suggests, a stack is a collection of notebooks. So, as I expanded this, these are the notes within Client 1. But I have a number of projects or activities under the part of my life that relates to my business. So what I like to do is to basically have stacks that relate to the key elements of my life. So here's my professional activities. Here are my hobbies. These are things that relate to my home. I teach, so, these are things like my course materials in here, templates that I've created. And remember, we created the test notebook. Test notebook is kind of just standing out here in the middle of all of the other notebooks and notebook stacks that I have. But if we want to add this to the stack that relates to my hobbies, we can move it in a number of different ways. So we can come to the test notebook that we were working in, and by clicking on the 3 dots, I can add it to one of the stacks that I have already created in my organizational system. I happen to, as you remember, have my professional, my hobbies, my home, my teaching, my travel, and I have an archive stack where I put all the things that I'm no longer using. So if I want to add this notebook to my hobbies stack, I click on it here. And now when you come back to the notebook collection, you've noticed that it's moved from here and now resides in my hobbies stack. And if you want to remove it from that stack, you can remove it that way. And now it resides all by itself as a separate notebook. Once you're in the notebook display area, you can come over here and you'll have that same drop-down menu that you've seen before. Now, stacks don't really exist separately, which means you can't have an empty stack. You've got to have something to put into the stack. So you can't just come here and say, oh, I want to create a new stack for items or notebooks related to my car. Can't do that. You've got to create something about a car, and then you can put it into a stack. So what that means is you cannot have notes in stacks unless they are in a notebook. Make sense? Okay. The notebooks inside stacks cannot be sorted, and you can't share a stack. You need to share each notebook in a stack individually. Now, as I said, I like to create stacks for the key areas of my life. You might want to do it differently. If you have a hobby that you're passionate about, well, you might want to just create a stack for that hobby. Or you might want to create a stack for financial records pertaining to your life, or a stack related to manuals for equipment in your home. I mean, you have to sort of decide what are the key areas, what are the groupings that you want to create. My advice is to not create too many stacks, because the beauty of this system is that at a very quick glance, you can see those key areas of your life, and then you can drill down into notebooks that relate to those topics. So you've created your notebooks. Now, you want to decide what notebooks you need. One of the things that I advise is that you start by thinking about the key areas of your life. For most people, that's your home, your personal life, your work life. You might have a travel notebook. You might want hobbies notebook. Think through what are the most important areas of your life. Now remember, in addition to just creating notebooks, you can create stacks of notebooks. That kind of also reduces the clutter. When you think about projects, you might want to have a notebook for active projects, things that you are working on right now, and they could contain all of the notes related to that project. You might also want to have a notebook. I have one called Archive. Actually, I have two of them. I have Archive Personal and Archive Work, where I put in everything that is not in an active project mode. I don't want to lose track of them. Finally, another really important thing when creating your notebooks or creating your notes in notebook is think through your naming system. Because you don't want, for example, I had a client once who had a notebook called Bank. Makes sense. Then he had another notebook for the name of the bank that he dealt with. I just said, why don't you just have one notebook called Bank, because you only deal with one bank. So think through what is the naming system that you are going to use. And then try it and modify it as time goes on. See, that's the beauty of Evernote. It's not only easy to create notebooks, but it's also easy to rename them, combine them, or even delete them. Hey, if you're committed to Evernote or just poking around, subscribe to my series of videos and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, you can find out more resources related to Evernote and productivity and other related issues at my website, daveedwardsmedia.com.